Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. At this time, please find your seats. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, guardians, and civilians of United States Strategic Command, we are honored to welcome you to this momentous occasion, the United States Strategic Command Change of Command Ceremony and the retirement ceremony of Admiral Charles Richard. We will begin shortly. As this ceremony is being recorded, please remove all access badges. Although the ceremony participants in uniform are wearing headgear and will salute, those military in the audience will not wear headgear and will not salute. It is customary when honors are rendered to the Secretary of Defense and during the playing of the national anthem for military members to stand at attention while our civilian guests stand and put their right hand over their heart. The music this morning is provided by Offutt Brass from the United States Air Force Heartland of America Band under the direction of Staff Sergeant Daniel Thrower. We are honored to have with us today the Honorable Pete Ricketts, Governor of Nebraska, the Honorable Deb Fischer, United States Senator from Nebraska, the Honorable Mike Flood, Representative of Nebraska, 1st District, the Honorable Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Jill Ruby, Undersecretary for Nuclear Security of the Department of Energy and Administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration, the Honorable Ronald Moultrie, Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, General John Hyten, the 11th Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and also a former commander of United States Strategic Command, and Mrs. Laura Hyten. Also, a number of current and former national defense leaders, active and retired senior officers, active and retired senior non-commissioned officers, and other distinguished guests are welcome today. We would also like to say a special welcome to our community leaders who have joined us to witness today's events. The spouses of the official party are now being escorted to their seats. With Mrs. Christine Grady, spouse of Admiral Christopher Grady, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Flowers are being presented to Mrs. Richard and Mrs. Cotton. Mrs. Lisa Richard is receiving a bouquet of red roses from Master Sergeant Zerang. Mrs. Richard's roses are in full bloom, symbolizing the beauty and fulfillment of her time with us as the First Lady of the Command. Mrs. Marcia Cotton is receiving a bouquet of yellow rosebuds from Technical Sergeant McCarthy. Yellow is the color of the new beginning and symbolizes her arrival as the new First Lady of the United States Strategic Command. In time, Mrs. Cotton's rosebuds will blossom, as will her relationship with our soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, guardians, civilians, and their families. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of honors to the Secretary of Defense, the national anthem, and the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chaplain Colonel Lance Giannone will now give the invocation.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord, you place leaders in positions of authority for the common good of our nation, and you charge us to pray for them. We thank you for Admiral Charles Richards' leadership over the past 3 years as the 23rd Commander, United States Strategic Command. By your providence, Admiral Richard led us through a global pandemic, China's strategic breakout, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, enabling STRATCOM to provide strategic deterrence during these challenging times. As Admiral and Mrs. Richard complete 41 years of faithful service and transition to the next chapter, we pray they would feel the gratitude of our grateful hearts as we say, fair winds and following seas. We pray this will be a day they will remember with a tremendous sense of fulfillment for standing the watch. We know that every military career is made successful because family members stand by our side. Thank you for Admiral Richard's wife, Lisa, and their children, Chase, Allie, and Emily. Provide the entire Richard family with a full measure of your care and keeping. And now, Lord, we welcome our new commander, General Anthony Cotton, and his wife, Marcia. We are blessed with a leader who also cares about people and who understands the STRATCOM mission, for he is no stranger to us as the former commander of Air Force Global Strike Command. As we anticipate the new lessons, challenges, and successes that General Cotton will inspire in us, we ask that you grant him wisdom, strength, and discernment. Give him grace as we pursue our nation's priority of ensuring peace prevails in the global competitive environment. Finally, we ask your blessings on this ceremony and all who are here, for it is in your name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force.
Thank you all so much for being with us this morning. My role is a little unusual at a change of command to give an award to the incoming commander. Well, in your mind's eye, imagine the Secretary of the Air Force chasing General Cotton around the country for 48 hours trying to catch up with him to give him an award. It turns out that General Cotton didn't make it to his own change of command at Global Strike Command. He was busy getting ready for his new job at STRATCOM. And I think that may give you a sense of what's to come here. Marcia, I hope you've enjoyed your 48 hours of unemployment because it's about to come to a screeching end in a few minutes, I think. General Cotton is an exceptional leader. He is a person of leader of great character and leader of great wisdom. So when it came time for us to recommend someone to Secretary Austin to take on the role of increased responsibility that he will receive today, it was very, very easy for us. General Cotton is about to receive an award, and you'll hear about his many accomplishments at Global Strike Command, but it's those qualities that set him apart. And I'm delighted to present this award to him, and I'm delighted to see him stepping up to his new responsibilities. General Cotton, could you join me up here on the stage, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand while Secretary Kendall presents the Distinguished Service Medal to General Cotton. Attention to orders. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, July 9, 1918, awards the Distinguished Service Medal to General Anthony J. Cotton for exceptionally meritorious service in duties of great responsibility. General Cotton distinguished himself as Deputy Commander and Commander, Air Force Global Strike Command, and Commander, Air Forces Strategic, Air, United States Strategic Command, Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, from 28 October 2019 to 28 November 2022. During this period, General Cotton brilliantly led 34,000 airmen in operating, sustaining, and securing 2/3 of the nation's nuclear forces in direct support of the Air Force's #1 priority. General Cotton's precise and deliberate leadership resulted in the largest nuclear modernization portfolio in decades, while achieving unprecedented levels of operational readiness. As the single accountable officer for the Air Force nuclear mission, General Cotton secured $214 billion for the transformation of its bomber fleet, intercontinental ballistic missile forces, nuclear command, control, and communication systems, and helicopter weapon systems, all being delivered on time and on budget, and assured future sustainment viability through digital engineering, modular design, and owning the technical baseline. He reinvigorated the command's cultural campaign, Striker Culture, with a focus on creativity, collaboration, and mutual respect of airmen and their families, driving positive impacts at the personal and institutional levels. As commander, General Cotton expertly pivoted the command from continuous bomber presence operations to executing 11 Bomber Task Force missions and 25 missions departing and returning to the continental United States in an effort to keenly manage bomber capacity and enhance lethality in supporting a diverse range of operations for combatant commanders across the globe. Finally, under his leadership, Air Force Global Strike Command emerged from a global health pandemic with unmatched readiness levels and unimpacted nuclear deterrence, providing uninterrupted strategic combat capability to the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of General Cotton reflect the highest credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Thank you, Secretary Kendall and General Cotton. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be back at Offutt, and I'm delighted to be joined by so many distinguished supporters of United States Strategic Command. Governor Ricketts, Senator Fisher, Congressman Flood, thanks for your leadership. Administrator Ruby and Secretary Kendall, thanks for being here as well. It's always great to see you. And above all, I'd like to recognize the men and women of STRATCOM. Thanks for the warm welcome and for all that you do to protect our democracy. So let's give the men and women of STRATCOM a round of applause. Truly well deserved. Now, this command's motto declares, "Peace is our profession." Your mission is to deter war and to do it with unmatched professionalism. Today, STRATCOM faces new challenges. The United States is on the verge of a new phase, one where for the first time we face two major nuclear powers as strategic competitors. The People's Republic of China is expanding and modernizing and diversifying its nuclear forces. And Russia is also modernizing and expanding its nuclear arsenal. And as the Kremlin continues its cruel and unprovoked war of choice against Ukraine, the whole world has seen Putin engage in deeply irresponsible nuclear saber-rattling. So make no mistake, nuclear powers have a profound responsibility to avoid provocative behavior and to lower the risk of proliferation and to prevent escalation and nuclear war. And so STRATCOM, it's your mission to be the responsible custodians of America's nuclear arsenal. And you're meeting this challenging and dangerous moment with clear eyes and determination. STRATCOM is leading the push to modernize our nuclear triad. You know, a week ago I was in California to unveil the B-21 Raider, which is the backbone of the Air Force's bomber fleet. We're working to modernize the other legs of the triad through new Columbia-class submarines and the Sentinel ICBM system. STRATCOM is here to deter conflict and keep the peace. And that means a secure, and safe, and effective nuclear arsenal as the ultimate backstop to deter strategic attacks on our country and our allies, including NATO, Japan, the Republic of Korea, and Australia. The STRATCOM is working to build a truly integrated deterrence, and that lies at the heart of our national defense strategy, which includes our nuclear posture review. Our nuclear capabilities don't exist in a vacuum. So we must integrate our nuclear deterrent across all domains, including space and cyberspace. We must also reduce the risk that escalation in one domain could spill over into another. As our national defense strategy and nuclear posture review make clear, that type of integration is more essential than ever to prevent conflict and catastrophe. And we all understand that nuclear deterrence isn't just a numbers game. In fact, that sort of thinking can spur a dangerous arms race. So STRATCOM is developing the credible capabilities and the concepts that we need to prevent conflict in this century. You are integrating our efforts across all domains, and you're weaving our capabilities together with those of our allies and partners. And finally, we know that deterrence alone will not eliminate nuclear dangers. So we're working to reduce the global role of nuclear weapons through arms control, non-proliferation, and strategic stability. For decades, the United States has used these tools to decrease the potential for nuclear war, all underwritten by our strong deterrent. So we remain committed to putting diplomacy first and to enhancing transparency and predictability. And we stand ready to pursue new arms control arrangements with willing partners operating in good faith. Nothing that this department does is more important than reducing the risk of nuclear conflict, escalation, and arms races. For 3 years, the vital work of this command has been led by Admiral Charles Richard. Chaz, we're really sorry to see you retire for many reasons, but one of them is that you'll have even more time to root for the Alabama football team, which I really worry about. You see, I'm an Auburn guy. So Chaz, I'll say this because you are the man of the hour. I'll deny it later on, but I have to congratulate you on that Iron Bowl victory a few weeks ago. I'll probably be excommunicated from the Auburn family for saying that publicly. Actually, it was a great game and well-deserved victory. Chaz, I'm pleased that we're joined today by some of your family. Your wife, Lisa, is a dedicated public servant herself. She's worked as a Senate staffer, including on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and she's worked in a range of roles serving military families and communities in need. Lisa, thank you for supporting Chaz for 34 years of marriage and for your service to our nation. We also have your 3 children here, Chase, Allison, and Emily. And today is actually Chase's birthday. So happy birthday, Chase. And thank you to all the members of Admiral Richard's family for their service and their sacrifice. You know, Admiral Richard only planned to be in the military for 4 years, but he ended up clocking out at 41 years. And as one of our military's most accomplished submarine officers, he's modeled the dedication, the expertise, and the commitment to excellence of our silent service. At the start of his career, he interviewed with the legendary Admiral Rickover to get a job in the Navy's nuclear power program. And that was the beginning of 4 decades of extraordinary contributions to America's sea-based deterrent, including, incredibly, 7 years spent underwater. He was the Navy's youngest commanding officer of a nuclear-powered submarine. He commanded the famed USS Parche, and he led U.S. submarine forces before taking his capstone role here at STRATCOM. Along the way, he even got to land on the ocean floor and discover a series of 2,000-year-old shipwrecks. Admiral Richard has led STRATCOM with vigilance and resolve at a time of evolving threats and during a global pandemic. He has focused relentlessly on China's expansion of its nuclear capabilities and on Russia's dangerous escalatory behavior. He's worked to ensure that our extended deterrence commitments to our allies remains ironclad. And he's overseen important investments in nuclear command and control and in the modernization of our nuclear triad. Admiral Richard, thank you for your 41 years of patriotic service and for your leadership. And And on behalf of the department, I wish you and your family fair winds and following seas. Today, the leadership of this command passes to General Anthony Cotton. Tony, I'd like to welcome you and all your family members here today. I had a chance to meet them earlier, all 50 of them. Just kidding, that's a gross exaggeration. There's probably only 20, right? Which is remarkable and says a lot about you and Marcia, Tony. And let me especially thank your wife, Marcia. She's a teacher, a compassionate advocate for our men and women in uniform, and your greatest champion for more than 30 years. You've also got your daughter, Bree, and your son, Russell, with us. And I know that Bree and Russell are very glad to be here, and I know that you know how much this means to your parents that you're here today, so welcome. Now, General Cotton, you knew from a young age that you wanted to carry on in your father's proud legacy of service in the Air Force, and I'm certain that he would be so very proud today if he could witness you taking the colors of Strategic Command. You started your career as a missile officer at Minot, and that became one of your favorite duty stations because that's where you met Marcia. You've commanded missile and space wings, you've supported our intelligence community, and you've held both the deputy commander and the commander jobs at Air Force Global Strike Command. And in between all of that, you somehow managed to find time for one of your favorite hobbies, and that is fixing cars and appliances. Now, Tony, I'm told that you once fixed a dryer in 15 minutes with a $40 part and saved hundreds of bucks in that process. And so come to think of it, the next time you're in Washington, Tony, I know that some of your friends could use some of your help in fixing a couple of things. So. Tony, you've had a tremendous career, but one of your favorite assignments was serving as commander of Air University because you love shaping the careers of young service members and civilians through education. So thank you for your compassionate leadership and for the example that you set for the next generation throughout your trailblazing career. And thanks in advance for everything that I know that you're going to bring to STRATCOM. You know, deterrence has never been just about the numbers, the weapons, or the platforms. The heart of American deterrence is the people who protect us and our allies. It's the young missileers who keep the watch, the sailors who patrol the depths of the ocean, and the pilots who remain ready at a moment's notice. It's the technicians and the operators who keep our systems humming, and it's the quiet patriots who stand guard in any climate, under any conditions. Here at STRATCOM, you proudly stand up day in and day out, around the clock, to defend us from catastrophe and to build a safer and more peaceful future. So let us always ensure that the most dangerous weapons ever produced by human science are managed with the greatest responsibility ever produced by human government. Thank you, Admiral Richard and General Cotton, and the men and women of this command. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Admiral Grady and Admiral Richard, will you please come to center stage? Ladies and gentlemen, please stand while Admiral Grady presents the Joint Meritorious Unit Award to United States Strategic Command. The United States Strategic Command and its three component commands distinguished themselves by exceptionally meritorious service from 18 November 2019 to 1 May 2022. During this period of historic stress across the Joint Force, the strategic security environment was shaped by an unprecedented evolution to a three-party nuclear near-peer reality characterized by a breathtaking strategic breakout by the People's Republic of China and a continuous technological advancements by Russia. Facing two peer adversaries for the first time in our nation's history, the command postured the nation's nuclear forces to hold strategic deterrence and provide extended assurance and deterrence to our allies and partners under the most challenging conditions the United States has faced in more than 40 years. Additionally, the command was the lead combatant command to provide periodic updates on the strategic situation, deliver key analysis of the risk of strategic deterrence failure, and subject matter expertise on policy decisions to United States senior leaders in response to Russia's conventional attack and nuclear threats in Ukraine. The command evaluated thousands of ballistic missile attacks and assessed the threats posed to the homeland and to North Atlantic Treaty Organization nations. Simultaneously, the command ensured continuous, reliable, and robust nuclear command, control, and communications connectivity by establishing a comprehensive plan to harden critical networks and infrastructure against adversary exploitation and attack. While maintaining vigilant focus to pace the threat, the command continued to advocate for the future of the nuclear enterprise and improve its forces through the planning and execution of 6 Tier 1 exercises and over 1,000 scenarios to forge 21st century deterrence across the entire nuclear enterprise. Through their exemplary performance of duty, the members of United States Strategic Command have brought great credit upon themselves and the Department of Defense. Thank you, Admiral Grady. Mr. Secretary and General Cotton, will you please join Admiral Richard at center stage for the United States Strategic Command change of command. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Attention to orders. By direction of the President, Admiral Charles A. Richard will relinquish command of United States Strategic Command effective 9 December 2022. General Anthony J. Cotton is directed to assume command of United States Strategic Command effective 9 December 2022.
General Cotton, I'm ready to be relieved. Admiral Richard, you are relieved as Commander of the United States Strategic Command. I stand relieved. Mr. Secretary, Admiral Richard has been relieved of the United States Strategic Command, and I assume command of the United States Strategic Command. Properly being relieved of command of the United States Strategic Command by General Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and Admiral Richard. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, United States Strategic Command, General Anthony Tony Cotton.
Wow. Secretary Austin, Secretary Kendall, Minister Roby, Honorable Moultrie, Vice Chairman Grady, General Hyten, Admiral Richards, Governor, Senator Fisher, Congressman Flood, Mayors Lambert, Hike, and Grosler, and the many civic leaders across the country that are here with us today, and the many, many friends and colleagues that are here today, not just for the Cotton family, but for the Richard family. Our great allies and partners from around the world that are here. But most importantly, all of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians of U.S. Strategic Command. Good morning. It's so great to be here in Omaha. I know so many of our family members and military families that are stationed here and how they absolutely love this community. And this community welcomes us with open arms, and we can't thank you enough. But before I get started, I need to thank President Biden, Secretary Austin, General Milley, Secretary Kendall, for their faith and confidence in me in this critical position. I do not take for granted the trust and responsibility that has been placed upon me. Secretary Kendall, thank you for everything. The Air Force is moving fast in the right direction, thanks for your leadership. What a dynamic duo between Secretary Kendall and General C.Q. Brown. But thank you for the confidence and support in me and the steadfast support of the modernization of the two legs of the nuclear triad, of which I was responsible for until about a couple days ago. Now I get it all. Admiral Richard, Chaz, we've been together for a while. I said it at my change of command in Global Strike Command in 2021, that you had a vision driven by action and results. It's been inspiring to see the changes that you have made. I've watched you lead during challenging times, and I know we are in a better position to deter and present forces to our leadership. Marcia and I wish you and Lisa all the best as you begin the next chapter of your journey in your Griswold mobile. So if you see a 29-foot camper with a 40-foot antenna on the back, you know it's Chaz and Lisa as they're hitting the national parks. To my family, there are many here to show support, but I want to speak to a few. Obviously, Marcia, the love of my life, who I met in Minot, North Dakota. So, Mr. Secretary, you're absolutely right. If nothing else, we have to go there for holidays in the wintertime. And I can tell you stories about the pact that a lot of us that were assigned there said about marrying women from North Dakota, so we didn't have to go to holidays in the wintertime. But it's been incredible, and Mr. Secretary, you're absolutely right. I think we've taken half of the population of North Dakota, and they're all sitting on that side of the atrium right now. But the military brought us together 33 years ago, and it's been incredible, and I'm happy to have her by my side through it all. Russ and Bree, so proud to be your dad. So Bree is a Carolina graduate. I'm an NC State graduate. Paid for her to go to Carolina, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. That wasn't a good thing. And she's also a law school graduate from the University of Michigan. So she's got her opportunities to pick a couple of really powerful teams in sports, but I think Carolina Blue is her. Our incredible son, Russell, is an Intel analyst, and I'm looking at Ron Moultrie, and he's doing some incredible work for the United States today. I'm so proud of them. Now to the men and women of U.S. Strategic Command. I cannot put into words how honored I am to be part of this organization and to serve with you. I don't want to date myself, but I was part of Strategic Air Command. During my confirmation, and I see Senator Fisher here, I had to correct myself a few times because I kept saying Strategic Air Command. That's because I have a tattoo over my heart instead of STRATCOM. Thankfully, one of the senators during the confirmation hearing did the same thing, and she said, "Don't worry, it's okay." But the fact of the matter is we are not Strategic Air Command. SAC achieved many successes over time, including helping to bring the end of the Cold War. But however, new perils are ahead of us. While the post-Cold War era is over, the competition is underway among major powers to try to shape what comes ahead. What we face today is different from the situation our Cold War heroes faced. In this new phase of competition, we face two peer adversaries, and guess what? Strategic Command must be ready for the global challenges of that strategic environment, ready for the complex challenges to deter adversary aggression and coercion 24/7. But we're positioning a 21st century command for the future. And what we're doing is incredibly important. As Secretary Austin has said before, America's defense will always be rooted in deterrent conflict. So we are again making it clear to any potential foe, the risks and costs of aggression far outweigh any conceivable gains. The deterrence and combat capability we provide is bedrock to all operations. Everything we do is foundational to national and international security. It's not just our nation that's counting on us. It's our allies and partners. NATO calls the strategic forces of the alliance, particularly those of the United States, the supreme guarantee of the alliance's security. And we embrace that. We know what's riding on our shoulders. The U.S. owns all ICBMs for our allies. The U.S. owns all bombers for our allies. The U.S. is the only, or one of 3 NATO members with SSBNs. And we have made investments that will ensure that our capabilities and readiness do not atrophy, and that our deterrence remains safe, secure, effective, and credible. But deterrence is not just nuclear. When Secretary Austin delivered our national defense strategy, he presented one of the primary ways we advance as a department, integrated defense. Integrated defense combines all of our strengths. That means every domain, every theater, every instrument of U.S. national power. The world's greatest allies and partners, all working together to make an insurmountable problem for any potential adversary and ensure a free and prosperous and secure international order. And we know our nuclear capability is at the heart of deterrence. The importance of our mission will continue to be paramount and the backstop of U.S. national security. And we must maintain our position of strength. But to safeguard our capabilities and credibility, we can't settle on a status quo. So we're taking actions now. Our mission cannot fail. So we're modernizing our systems. As the Secretary mentioned, last Friday, I also had the pleasure to receive the first glimpse of the new B-21 Raider, our first strategic bomber in more than 3 decades. As noted by Secretary Austin during the unveiling, it's a testament not only to America's enduring advantages in ingenuity and innovation, but also to our strategy of deterrence, backed up with the capabilities we need every time, anytime, every time. The Raider, Sentinel, our next generation ICBM, the new Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine, the next generation nuclear command, control, and communications, represents an era of significant transformation for our nuclear forces. And as we transition to these new systems that are going to be even more capable and synchronize all of our capabilities through integrated deterrence, our deterrence will only get stronger. But I don't want anyone to think that our strength and confidence comes solely from our combat capabilities. What gives me the greatest confidence is the solid foundation of relationships that we have with allies and partners. We're the best in the world. combined with the best allies in the world. And there's nothing that we can't accomplish. I've seen it firsthand, the relationship and integration with our allies and partners. Whether it's major exercises with our friends in the United Kingdom, integrating with Indo-PACOM, providing conventional bomber exercises with the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force, refueling bombers with the Royal Australian Air Force, landing at an Arctic base in Norway, or conducting SSBN port visits in Scotland, Gibraltar, and Diego Garcia. It shouldn't be a surprise that I, as the commander of Global Strike, there we go, as the commander of U.S. Strategic Command, sorry, bra, will continue to reinforce those relationships with our allies and partners. Winston Churchill said it best, if we are together, nothing is impossible. And together, we have a team that our adversaries will never be able to overcome. People often ask me, General Cotton, what keeps you up at night? Well, I really don't lose sleep at night when I go to bed. And here are the reasons why. First, the United States has the greatest military power in the history of the world. Second, the United States is part of the most successful security alliance in the history of the world that has enabled almost 75 years of stability, prosperity, and growth. And finally, I don't lose sleep because there are brave men and women who are keeping watch 24/7, even as I speak. They may be underwater, underground, airborne, or watching space. This gives me confidence. The generations that follow us will continue to live in a free world thanks to the men and women of U.S. Strategic Command. And I am so incredibly proud to lead those men and women. And they'll continue to set the bar high so our nation and our allies and partners can rest well knowing that we will keep watch. May God bless all of our personnel in harm's way in this great nation we call America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Cotton. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the change of command portion of the ceremony.